Good morning, friends and fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the Morning Market Prep video for May 7th, 2024. Hope everyone had a great evening, ready for another wild and crazy market day. Let's take a look at what happened last night, and please bear with me. I'm just running through a bunch of tickers here this morning. First off, Asian markets were mostly higher last night. Only Hong Kong was just slightly lower, and the Nikkei had a really good day, surging up 1.57%, while Australia surged higher by 1.44%. So strong action over there last night. Let's take a look at what happened here in Europe this morning. Europe is decidedly bullish this morning, moving sharply higher. The DAX is already up 138 points, or 0.76%, green across the board there in Europe at the moment, as UBS reported better than expected. And then if we take a look at U.S. futures, well, we're a little bit more on the muted side. Dow and S&P 500 futures are just slightly higher, with Nasdaq futures just a little lower here this morning. So a little bit of mix going on here in the U.S. Let's take a look at oil here this morning. Oil is also a little bit lower, even though there is, truce talks going on. You probably saw that Hamas had agreed to the deal, but Israel rejected the deal. So now we're back to square one on that, but at least the talks are still happening. So oil is down 28 cents at 78.20 a barrel. Brent is down 28 cents at 83.05 a barrel. And natural gas, that's had a really good run here recently, is down this morning about a penny. If we take a look at our precious metals, and they were pretty strong yesterday, doing well. Well, we're getting a pullback across the board in metals. Gold, silver, copper, platinum, and palladium lower here this morning, with gold futures right now down $8.60 an ounce. And then if we take a look at cryptos, well, cryptos are looking pretty good this morning. Bitcoin is up $934 a coin this morning, with kind of a mix in those cryptos this morning on how they're trading. If we take a look at bonds here this morning, well, bonds are slipping just a little bit here this morning and bouncing around here, kind of surprisingly. We've got the 2-year bond at 4.82%, the 10-year is at 4.46%, and the 30-year at 4.61%. The biggest movement down would be the 10-year bond this morning, coming in under 4.5%. So keep an eye on those. So what does all that mean for today? Well, how about we settle in? Let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the Friday edition, the Tuesday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thank you so much for being here on this Tuesday. Hoping you had a really good evening last night and all rested up for another day here in the market. Let's take a look at these charts and see if we can gain a little bit of information about how we might want to approach the market for the day. Remember, one of the more important things is to shake off that bias. Look at the charts for what they are, not for what you want them to be. So let's take a quick peek here. As you can see, pushing up here in the chart in the diamonds, we're looking pretty good. And if you'll notice, yesterday we did cross over that 50-day and we managed to hold it. We're trying to extend that this morning just a little bit in the pre-market. So we'll want to keep an eye on that area. Breaking through that 50 is important, but now we have to prove to hold it. It's not going to do us much good if we were to reverse and come back down and fail. And unfortunately, that's a very, very common thing when you push up in that 50-day moving average from coming out of a bottom, that we slip. Now, hopefully we can just hold up there and maybe take a little bit of rest or break, because if we don't consolidate here soon, in the diamonds, we could and continue to try and press and press and press. We could see those bears re-engage pretty quickly. So let's take a look at what we've got going on here. If those bulls can continue to find reason to push here to the upside, you can see holding that support is going to be really important. And then we're going to start looking for areas here in the chart that we can push up through, and we can test some of these resistance areas in this wider range of consolidation that we had back here in March. So keep an eye on these levels to the upside. If we can progressively push up through these, then we're going to be right back up here and looking for that potential big popping breakout here in the chart where we could be reaching out to all-time highs in the market. Now, I will tell you that we're up in basically 3 trading days, 900, almost 1,000 points in 3 days. And sometimes we stretch too far too fast and we get an opposite reaction. So be prepared for the possibility if the bears were to find some inspiration today. Well, pushing back down, testing the support would be the first area, and then dropping down into here, maybe the tail of that candle, and I'm suggesting probably coming back down into this bigger area of price support is likely. Now, if the bears were able to push on below that, I'm going to say testing the top side of that big old black candle in this little consolidating area right here would be the next level lower, and then of course right back down into here to potentially fill that gap and come back to a price support here in the chart if those bears were to really engage. And there's no evidence here of that just yet, but just showing those possibilities. Now, if we take a look at our SPY, SPY also had a great day, and it was the big tech giants really did a good job yesterday pushing up, at least the majority of them did, and that really pushed SPY higher here, breaking solidly above that 50-day moving average. And if you look right here, we also broke through this little consolidating area here in that chart and back above this big black candle right there. So we're really changing the way S&P 500 is stacking up here. And if the bulls can continue that push, then I would look for this area right up in here. We'll see if we can test this area right in here. Start looking through these levels, and then if we can get through these, then I think there's a real chance that we'll be up here testing all-time highs in the SPY, assuming we don't push this thing too far too fast. I think we need some kind of rest or consolidation in here, because if we don't start calming down these all or nothing moves, these big whipsaw moves in the market, well, we really set ourselves up for some pretty ugly price action. So I think a nice several day just kind of consolidating rest would be really healthy for the market. Not that I'm going to get that, but I would like to see that occur here in the market. Now, if the bears find reason to engage, well, first off, as you can see, push back down through that level, and then we'll be testing that candle low. Now, here's the problem with what we've done with the SPY, is we've left gaps behind, and we know gaps oftentimes get filled. So if we were to push hard enough from the bears for any reason, maybe a push down to fill the gap, maybe even back down into here. If we get into this range in the chart and we continue to see that bearishness pushing, well, notice we have another big gap that we could drop into and fill. So keep a close eye on that. That would be a pretty ugly bearish move in the market, but certainly does show that possibility if we don't take a break here and actually build a level of price support that the market can work with. Just the all or nothing market is, well, first off, it's tiresome, but it also makes a very dangerous situation for traders. And then if we take a look at QQQ working to break that downtrend here in the chart, and we're seeing just a little bit of softness in the futures here in the pre-market. So we'll see if we can push on through. You'll notice here in this chart, clear break above the 50-day moving average. We sliced through it like it wasn't even there, and pushing up into that downtrend. We'll see if we can continue with that kind of energy to the upside. And you also want to notice we did both of these moves with giant gaps in between, leaving behind some big holes. So if the bulls can continue to push, well, we're going to start looking for these levels right up in here, breaking through that area right in here into that resistance. We need to get through that. If we can get through that, then looks like we have a pretty good shot that we're coming right up into here in the chart, and then of course all-time highs in the QQQ. Unfortunately, one of the things that we're seeing is the majority of the work that's being done is just by a handful of companies, and those companies are so heavily bought that if one of them or something starts to stumble, there's a lot of talk of a potential black swan on the horizon. Nobody's giving any clues as to what that might be, but one of the prescriptions that they're talking about here that could occur is because we're so heavily leveraged into just 7 companies in the S&P 500 that the sell-off could be pretty extreme if it were to begin. I don't know if any of that's going to happen. I'm just suggesting it is dangerous where we are so heavily focused on just such a small group of companies. Now, that being said, those small group of companies are going to be doing huge amounts of stock buybacks here in the market. So maybe we can just shake off anything here and just keep pressing higher. If we take a look on the bearish side here, well, those bears could push down and break back down below this little trend break and maybe back down here to test that low of yesterday's candle. If we push beyond that, well, I'm looking for a potential fill of this gap, and then maybe even pushing on down into this area of price support in the chart. If we were to continue to push past that point, there is a big gap here that could potentially be filled. Notice I've got a little support level in between there, but just look at the possibility here that we could fall into this giant gap if those bears were to become energized. So be prepared for those possibilities. And then if we look at IWM, well, the old IWM pushing up here nicely, continuing to show nice strength. As a matter of fact, as far as a technical chart goes, one of the better here in the market, showing that bullishness. We held that trend in here, that trend break, pushed up, looking good here in that chart. You'll notice that we broke through our 50-day moving average here again, and we're up here testing a very significant area of price resistance in the chart. Now, if we can push on through that level right in here, that'll be the first move for the bulls to do. If we push up through there, then we're going to start looking at some levels up here in between these two areas of resistance in the chart, and then we'll be up here attacking this very big area in IWM. This would be a multi-year resistance back here that we're going to have to pay attention to see if we can push through. Notice we've tried a couple of times. We tried and failed here. We broke through and then completely reversed there. So we'll want to watch that closely as we approach that area. If we take a look at our VIX, well, our VIX, interesting, yesterday popped up a little bit, but then ended up pulling back. There was just no fear yesterday in the market as we continued to push up. So down here around 13.5 handles on the VIX. Of course, we want to watch this pretty closely because this is quite a steep fall, a massive head and shoulders pattern in here as well. So if we continue to see those bulls push, well, there's every reason to believe that they could continue to break this down and even make some new lows in the market if they can keep that push going overall. If we happen to run into any bearish problem, well, it's not going to be that big a deal as long as we can restrict those areas to these bounce back up areas here in the chart and then continue to see that push to the downside. So watch carefully there, but certainly bulls are in control here on the VIX. If we take a look at our T2122, well, we can see that the bulls are definitely in control here as well. We ended up the day just right up here at the cusp of the bearish reversal zone. Now, we did push through into that earlier in the day and then just slowly faded back. You can see we have this giant hockey stick up here in that chart, but the bulls are relentless. Like right now, they just want to buy something, I guess, and they're pushing really hard. So every reason to believe that we could push on through and be right back up here in this bearish reversal zone. So keep an eye on that. And that may be one of the reasons why we're a little bit softer here this morning. We've kind of expended our ammunition all at once on the bullish side, and maybe we need a rest or even a pullback. If the market were to find some reason for bearishness, well, you do want to pay attention that we've opened up a big downside opportunity, and that's where those gaps will come in if those bears really start to push. Not saying they will, but just watch carefully for that. And if we take a look at T2108, well, our T2108 did a great job. At the very end of the day, we had a little tiny bit of a push up. Notice that T2108 finally made it back up through that 50% area. So half of our stocks, just over half of our stocks, are back above their 40-day moving average. That may be a confidence builder in the market. It may also be that little bit of signal that we stretched too far too fast in this relief rally. We'll have to wait and see how the market deals with that. But getting up through here is a big deal. And if we can hold up above this area in support, that would be positive for the market. If we can push on through to the upside, well, we'll notice that we've got additional resistance areas here in the chart that we'll have to be thinking about as we push back up. Now, if the bears were to find inspiration and push this back down, you'll notice we've got some good support levels in here to catch us on the way down. Doesn't necessarily mean we fall all the way out of bed here if those bears were to engage. If we see the T2107 percentage of stocks above the 200-day moving average, very nice move yesterday. Nice little W formation here in the chart. Push right back up into some price resistance. We will want to notice that as we kind of peek up in here, we're kind of getting into a frothy area on T2107, but a very unique situation here where we've got this this indicator holding so well when we've saw so much weakness there in the 50-day, and 40-day. I'm really not sure what that means, but right now the underlying here of the market certainly is holding up. So we've got the bulls in control there. Now, if we take a look at T2101, well, we can kind of see where our problem was yesterday. Well, we just couldn't really get a whole lot of energy going. We seem to have these big gap up opens, but then we can't follow through. Now, honestly, that surprised me a little bit because a lot of companies are coming out from under their blackout period. We've seen these massive buyback numbers the companies are talking about doing, but we're still not seeing them come in with any breadth here in the market. Excuse me. As that occurs, and we see that breadth moving down on a big bullish wave, that does make me worry that that could engage those bears. If those bears see a weakness here in the market because the breadth isn't strong enough, well, we could see those bears pick up and start pushing. Right now, bulls are in control, but we need to see those bulls show that little bit of breadth push, that increase in that push on a buy wave to really fend off any bear attack. Right now, it's just not there, and we're still showing that weakness here. So keep an eye on that. Let's take a look at our economic calendar here for today. Now, our economic calendar, another do nothing, go nowhere day here in the market. You can see we don't have much to worry about. We've got a whole bunch of bond auctions and settlements. We've got Kashkari that will be speaking today, a 3-year note auction, and then a consumer credit number, and they are looking for this to consumer credit to increase to 15.5 billion from 14.1. So not much happening here on the economic calendar for today, but that is not the case for earnings. Oh my goodness, we have a big group of earnings today, and there's no way I can cover them all in the morning prep here. There's just so many. But one you want to be paying attention to, Disney was one of the most notables here this morning. Disney catching a big old pop and drop here on that move here. If we look at a short-term 15-minute, you can see what happened here based on the Disney earnings. Little bit of a hit here for them, but still support underneath, so it's not like it's terrible. Nice little support area in there in the chart. Other stocks that we will be seeing today, there are quite a few. You know, DDOG, Datadog reporting here this morning, moving lower. We've got GoGo in here. We've got stocks like EXPD in here. We've got NRG that will be reporting today. ROK, UBS also already reported here this morning. UBS doing a good job here pushing to the upside. So quite a few reports to be keeping in mind here for today. And then this afternoon, we just have a huge number of reports this afternoon as well that we'll want to be keeping an eye on. Things like Go will be in there, IRBT, RDDT. I think Reddit will be in there this afternoon. We've got PR, we've got KD. We're going to hear from Lyft this afternoon. So lots of things in here. TWLO will be in there. Wynn Casinos are going to report. So just a whole slew of reports here this afternoon to be paying attention to. So with that, everyone, let's take a look at a few stocks that could be setting up for today. But before we do that, if you could do me that quick favor, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you could please click that subscribe button on YouTube, and also click that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful or helpful, do me that favor, and that would be click that thumbs up button, leave a brief comment. That helps the channel to continue to grow. Thank you so much for everyone who does take the time to do that. I truly appreciate it. Remember, feel free to share these videos on your social media feed. That also helps an awful lot. Let's take a look at some of these stocks that could be setting up. Remember, guys, these are not recommendations to buy or sell any security. You need to do your own due diligence. You need to be very, very careful in this market. And you need to be making sure that you're following your trading rules and your risk tolerances. You should never, ever blindly follow anyone else's trade ideas. Well, first off, let's take a look at a few things here. TEVA. Really nice little pattern here in TEVA. Nice little resting consolidation in here. I would look for that opportunity. If this can hold in this area, I'd look for that next bullish move in the market to maybe pop us through that resistance. But little cup and little handle pattern in here holding up. I would watch TEVA for an opportunity. You may want to be taking a look at some of the pay systems here in the market. Visa starting to come back up, but you know, overall, a lot of these pay systems are running into some trouble. Unless we can break through that downtrend, I really would be watching these for that potential short. We need to break through the downtrend, hold the higher low over here, and then resume an upside trend. And so far, some of these pay systems are showing some weakness, and we'll have to watch those pretty closely. If you guys are into cannabis stocks, this is a little cheapy here, but CGC pulling back, trying to hold this upside trend. I would watch in here for the possibility that we could find some buyers. As you know, the administration is looking at changing the classification here in these cannabis stocks. So watch that carefully. If it can find that energy and pop through that resistance, certainly has a potential. A little tiny guy, but really picking up here in the market. Take a look at CHPT. CHPT is one of these stocks that I like to watch because it's trying to come up out of a bottom here. I love to find stocks that are just absolutely beaten down, just pounded down. Nobody loves them anymore. And then see them start to come up and break through this downtrend here. Now this is again a little cheapy guy, and I often get accused that hey, you only look at real expensive stocks. Well, oftentimes it's those real expensive stocks that are actually moving, but you can see here in CHPT breaking this downtrend. If this could hold a higher low, well, it might become interesting. Notice what I've drawn there is an inverted head and shoulders pattern. So keep an eye on CHPT if you want or interested in any of those little tiny stocks. Could be of particular interest. Take a look at Alcoa here. Alcoa continuing to try and set up. Now, I think at this point we have chopped in such a wide range here on Alcoa. What I think I want at this point is to go ahead and break out, and then I want to see if we can hold this breakout up here in the chart for that next entry into Alcoa. Keep an eye on that. Looking pretty decent at the moment, and I'm still liking RTX in here as well as it chops over here toward this trend. Notice that's how it seems how RTX likes to move. So watch that carefully as it chops over here to this trend, looking for that next opportunity for that to push out. Take a look at General Dynamics. General Dynamics breaking that downtrend, trying to push through to the top side. Could be setting up here, going up, so watch that closely. Now you might want to be keeping an eye on 3M. 3M is a nice, beautiful little potential setup here, pushing up through that resistance and now resting back into that support, looking for its trend right now because we kind of slipped that trend over here, looking for the trend. But right in here, I would be watching for that next opportunity in 3M. Could set up pretty nicely here. And take a look at Altria. Altria doing kind of the same thing. Big solid push to the upside, little resting pullback starting to occur. Some of these old boring defensive sector stocks looking pretty good here in the market. Now I don't want to miss out on the fact that there are some pretty good short trades out there as well. Take a look at eBay. eBay kind of topping out here. This is a real interesting test of this support. It's trying to hold in here, but watch carefully if this starts to slip down below that area. I think eBay with a little bit more rest in here could easily find that downtrend and push itself a little bit lower here in the market. We see things like Caterpillar rallying right back up to its downtrend here in the chart. I would be watching for a failure to occur here and see if that continues to roll over to the downside. I think we should take a look at FedEx. FedEx is looking pretty much short here, continuing to fall in that downtrend. Little resting consolidation as we rest out here to trend. Any kick off of that cliff and we start falling here in FedEx, and I'm going to put UPS in that market as well. Little bit of a concern here in that chart. Now it is trying to hold this little higher low, so this one is a little bit more of a question, and you can see that possibility. Maybe we could draw that up as a head and shoulders, inverted head and shoulders pattern here on that. So watch it closely. You never know on a chart when we're kind of in a mix like this, but watch that carefully, particularly if those bears were to get going here in the market. You can see overall we've been moving down. If those bears were to engage here, we could be right back down into that low pretty quickly in the chart. So it's not all sunshine and roses here in this market. There are bearish trades to be paying attention to. So keep an eye on those opportunities. Another one would be Ford. Not looking so good here in Ford, finding that resistance in that downtrend and maybe looking to push on lower. So, and if we look at anything in the oil refining area, take a look at Halliburton. Halliburton's not looking so good now. We are trying to hold on to this trend, but Halliburton looks like it could be failing this downtrend in here. Watch for the next opportunity there. We've got Valero. Let's get Valero. Valero coming back up to this downtrend here in the chart. And once again, I would be watching for that potential failure here if we continue to see that push. And we're even seeing things in just that entire sector trying to rally back to these downtrends. Watch for that next potential push lower. So be careful here. There is a mix of data in the market. There's long and short as we rally back up and see if we can break through those 50-day moving averages and hold them. So with that, everyone, hey, I want to wish you all a fantastic day. I wish you great success in your trading today. Thank you so much for being here. I do truly appreciate it. And as always, I want to wish you all the very, very best today. Take care, and I'll see you right back here bright and early Wednesday.